Hello, I'm Chelsea, and today we're going to talk about why I think everyone should vote for Bernie Sanders. First of all, I think that voting for Bernie Sanders for president is voting for the people because he's the only one who's really representing the majority. It kind of sounds like there are other people representing the majority, but it only sounds like it. There came a point for me about 5 years ago when I started to get into politics and I started to get interested in it and kind of stopped saying, well, oh, that sucks, and started kind of seeing why it sucked. And the more I tried to learn, the more I read, the more documentaries I watched, the more I found myself exposed to just injustice after injustice after injustice for the American people. And people everywhere, really. And somewhere in that time frame, I found Bernie Sanders and a couple others like Elizabeth Warren and a few who are out there doing things a little bit differently. And I started to follow them. And over the last few years, he's been very loudly saying the things that I think at home. And that means something because none of the other people are saying it. First, he doesn't have a super PAC. He's not getting campaign contributions from oil companies or Monsanto or anyone else that he's going to have to work for when he gets in. The only people he's getting money from are people that I want him to work for, like real people and labor unions. And that's okay with me because I know that all the other candidates, besides Donald Trump, who's super rich and totally not a viable option for a presidential candidate, all of them have campaign contributions from huge companies. And what that means is when they are in office, they have to repay that somehow. They're going to have to do stuff for them. And usually when they're doing stuff for those big companies, they're doing something that's bad for us. So we need someone who is indebted to the American people and not Monsanto, because that's a terrible idea. These campaign contributions they're getting, these people who are paying for these ads, the people who are paying for their wardrobes, all of that has to be paid back somehow, and people need to start thinking about that. If they're getting these money from these people, what do these people want in return? Then you start to realize why they're passing the bills that they're passing. And why are we not being informed about all the things that are going on in Congress and Senate? I'm going to guess it's because they don't want us to. So, the media is its own huge topic in itself, but I think we need to really start focusing on where our candidates are getting their money from because it may be the most important question because that's who they'll be working for when they get in. And Hillary is not an option for me. I don't think she's going to help us. And all these people who are getting money for these contributions, not only do they have to do stuff for them, but they can't do anything against them because they're indebted. And we need the president to be able to stand up to companies. And if he can't do that, then he essentially no longer works for the people. He or she no longer works for the people. The second reason is I think that Bernie understands what it's like to be one of us. I think he's lived life kind of like one of us, maybe not quite as low as some of us, but, much more closely than anyone else. He didn't grow up with this handed to him. He didn't, I don't know. I don't want to bash people, but I think he's definitely closer to who we are overall. And I think that he's not thinking like a 1%, he's thinking like a 99. And I'm one of the 99%, so I'd rather vote for the 99%. And the third thing, and this is something people need to start looking into because this is important, and I know, this requires actual effort, but his voting record. You have to look up his voting record, and you have to look up Hillary's voting record, and you have to look up all the GOP voting records and decide, is that how I would have voted? Because when you're voting for a candidate, you're not only just voting for that person. You're voting for the person who's going to vote the way you want them to, because you need them to be working for you. And if you look at their voting record and that's not how you would have voted, you probably shouldn't vote for that person. But when I do look at his voting record, it's kind of on par with what I would have done, because I would like to do things that help people and not companies. All right. The next reason is we have to end corporate tax cuts and loopholes. And he is the only one who I believe will do that, because he's not indebted to them. If we get somebody in there who is indebted to big companies, they are not going to fight against big companies. And we need these companies paying their fair share of taxes so that we can start putting money into education and infrastructure and things that strengthen this country. Because right now, we are not really competing on a global level for a lot of things, because they're getting ahead of us. We need to start educating our people. We need to have the biggest and the brightest, and not just a few of them. We need that to be available to everybody. And we need bridges that are safe to drive on, and we need our roads to not be covered in holes that damage our cars, and we need jobs, and infrastructure creates jobs, and more money in education will create jobs. And we need to start focusing on people, the people of this country, and not the companies of this country, because companies are not people, corporations are not people, we're people. And we don't need to be making them people when we can't take care of our people. All right. I get a little emotional when I talk about Bernie, because I feel this so strongly. I feel like if we don't elect Bernie Sanders for president, we're just going to have another 4 years of sliding downhill. And if people start getting informed about what's going on in Washington and what's going on around them, they'll start to realize how much is being taken from us just systematically. And we need someone who is going to put that back together, and I think that he will, and I believe him when he talks, and I don't have to just believe him. All I have to do is do enough research to see that his record stands for itself, and it does. He is trustworthy in every sense for me. And I think that the people who so far are not pro-Bernie are just people who haven't really looked that far into it. And I think people need to start thinking about their own interests and the interests of people, and stop thinking about politics as a business. Because there are a lot of people in this world. Example, my father. My father is on Social Security. He has clearly limited means. And I asked him the other day, I said, Dad, are you a Republican? And I don't know why I didn't talk about this. We don't see each other a lot. And he said yes. And I'm like, why? Why? You're poor. Why would you be a Republican? It doesn't make any sense. How can anyone be poor and be a Republican? Don't people know what Republicans are doing to them, especially to poor people? And I said, Dad, don't you know they want to take away your Social Security? And he's like, no, they don't. Are you kidding? He's like, oh, you tell me who. And I Google it. It's like 85 ads, they're trying to take away your Social Security. He's like, oh, seriously, that's all you have to do is look into things. Just look it up. They are not helping us. They are taking things from us every single day. And it's not about whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're a girl, whether you're a boy, whether you're gay, whether you're straight. It's about the people at the bottom realizing that they're not helping us, and that we have to start helping ourselves. And we have to start getting informed, and we have to start letting our voice be heard. Because the political process is supposed to involve the people. And we need to start getting involved and start learning about who our candidates are. Because if you do even a little bit of research, you will see that you like Bernie whether you know it or not. You like Bernie, you like what he stands for, you just don't know it yet. And if you like people, and if you don't like hearing about hungry people or uneducated people, and you want a world that has people who are happier and more successful and smarter, then Bernie's the only guy for you. So, take 5 minutes. Thank you.